So we have one question in.
From Sami. So the question is, how do you imagine the script points of your delivery for a smooth delivery so it comes out naturally and without need of reading from a paper? What is your technique or advice on this? So I think in summary, it's about presenting without a reliance or dependence on script. And I think that's a very wonderful point, a very well crafted question also. Thank you very much for the question. I can start first on this. I think one of the common mistakes, I will start with that, when people try to reduce dependence or reliance on a script, is to memorize the script. It's one thing I first started out doing as well, because I thought you just memorize it, just keep reading it every single minute for a short period of time or for a long period of time, and then you can pretty much memorize the speech. Until I read about one book that talked about how to present in a very powerful manner, and one of the advice that hit me was that you need to present your speech not so much as though you are delivering a prepared speech, but it is as though you are giving a conversation. You're having a conversation with your audience members. And a lot of times when people memorize their speech word for word, what they end up doing is that they're just delivering a very polished speech, but they're not focusing on trying to be fluid enough to interact with the audience, to talk with them, to maybe, even if they miss out one word, to try and move around to another point, for example. So I think I will start with that. The first common mistake is that you don't have to memorize the entire speech in its entirety, or in a sense, you don't have to do rote learning, which is how you do for mathematics, science. You just memorize the textbook and all that. For speech-wise, that may not be the optimal option for you, but then the next question would be, how can I then remember my speech without memorizing the entire speech? So one technique I do is when I have my full speech draft out, so I still craft a full script, a full draft, what I do is right after that, I prepare a skeletal version of my script. And the skeletal version mainly focuses on the key points or the key message that I have in that paragraph. It could be a topic sentence, it could be your point in your PEU method, for example. The idea being that because or rather the more important thing to memorize is the key points in your structure, not so much the individual words inside the sentence. And it's easier to memorize as well. I will still go back to my script, but along the way, as I'm presenting this skeletal script, what happens is that as I'm presenting it, as I'm rehearsing with it, I can sometimes come up with newer points or better ways to phrase some of my script as well. So it's not just about memorizing the points that you have, but also about so much about putting in play a more versatile way of presenting using the skeletal format. So that's one way to reduce reliance on the script. The other way, of course, is to, in a sense, create a better structure for yourself. So having a very structured speech is also another way to help you memorize your speech. Some speeches, they have a lot of different elements inside, a lot of different moving parts. It makes it even difficult for the speaker themselves to memorize the speech. So one thing to look at is that to look at your speech, if it's something that you can run through from the start to the end very easily, you can understand the logical flow, then that's an easy speech to memorize, whether in terms of the skeletal or even through rote learning if you don't have time for it. So at least the moment you know that your script format is, your script is something that's easy to understand for yourself in terms of the logical flow, it's easier to memorize as well for that script. So I think there'll be some pointers that I hope can help to reduce reliance on script.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Sami, for the question, and I fully agree with Zubro. I thought that there's great elegance in the technique that Bro mentioned regarding the skeletal the skeletal version of the full version, because that is very helpful. The moment you have the skeletal version, it makes it easier for you to populate, for you to speak extemporaneously and to use your own words to explain a concept that you understand. How I would add some more to what Zubro has already mentioned is one thing. I remember when I went over to Batam, if I'm not wrong, when I was in JC2, when I was 18 years old. That was a long time back. That was 13 years ago. When I was in JC2, I went to Batam, and you know what I was there doing? I wasn't there shopping. I wasn't there sightseeing. I was there to do something called CIP. Do you know what CIP stands for? You can type it in the comment box if you know what CIP stands for. And hi, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in as well. So indeed, CIP stands for Community Involvement Program. So if you type it in right now, that doesn't count. So Community Involvement Program, basically, it's one where you go overseas and then you're not paid, voluntary work, and you help. And we were asked to teach the students there, not Bahasa Indonesia, but we were told to teach them English, and mathematics. And I remember teaching a group, they said, it was supposed to be our group of students, I think juniors, because they were fluent in the language and they were able to explain. So they were tasked to teach English and mathematics. Then when one of the teacher fell ill, by teacher I mean student, one of the students fell ill, I was then asked to be a relief teacher. I said, Darren, you're up. I said, but I can't speak perhaps the native language. And he says, no, it's okay. I mean, the one who felt you couldn't speak a native language as well. You go and substitute her. And I was asked to teach mathematics. I said, I have no script. You see, the moment, even though you're asked to teach simple arithmetic, I was asked to teach like what is 5 plus 6, and then to use simple drawing of marbles to denote how to come up with the answer, what's 5 plus 6. The moment you are placed on stage and then just given the opportunity to present with many pairs of eyes looking at you, even if it's a simple concept, naturally you will have that feeling of, oh my goodness, can I do it? I need a script, I need an insurance, I need something to save me. And here's the thing, the volunteer head then shared with me that, Darren, don't be worried, it's something that you've been doing for so many years, simple math to no more than 20. That means you can plus, minus, the final answer cannot be more than 20. That's the syllabus for the students for now. So she told me, don't give yourself that kind of pressure. You don't need a script. You don't need a script. You need to understand than to memorize a pre-written script. So I thought that was very powerful. The difference between understanding, internalizing, and memorizing, like what Zubro mentioned. So you don't really need to memorize the script to teach. To be honest, if you now go and teach a young kid what is 5 plus 7, yeah, you don't really need a script. Hi kid, now let's draw 5 marbles on the board. You just draw 5 marbles on the board, you then draw 7 marbles, and then you count. You're able to do that extemporaneously. Ask you to repeat again, you probably use different set of words. Yep. You explain the same thing but use different words. So it's the same concept. Now they're asking you to present digital marketing report, cost per acquisition, asking you to teach us how to use maybe a video editing software, ask us how to play soccer and all. You don't really have to use the same script, but you really need to understand the element a lot. And by understanding is not just which word comes next. Understanding is really knowing the concept so well that if we ask you to explain in different words, one of the exercises that we did with some of our young debaters was we needed them to explain what is the concept of photosynthesis, the process in which plants make use of light to make food. Yeah. Then we asked them to use another way to explain without using the word photosynthesis. Then the third version is they must explain without using the word light, glucose, chlorophyll, chloroplast and whatnot. And they found it challenging, but yet it's to really change, and they found that they can no longer rely on a fixed script. They can only rely on their understanding of the concept. So if you really want to test, are you that good in understanding, try the photosynthesis activity. Now ask you to try and explain photosynthesis. You see, I think our staff are all laughing at photosynthesis. It really brings back memories, right?
Yeah.
Photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? It's the process. I'm seriously not going to go there, but indeed, understand, really internalize, and that is really going to be very helpful. Instead of remembering what point come next, instead is to understand for the concept, is it a process flow for that concept? Is that concept got to do with categorization of things? So really understanding that, I think that would be very helpful.